consider myself to be young. Just the degree that is different.
That's true.
Yeah. But my name is Pius Muchiri Mugo. I say the three names because many people I meet out there, they tell me Pius Muchiri Mugo. I think that's how I've been known out there. Pius Muchiri Mugo, and I work at Nabo Capital. I'm the managing director of Nabo Capital. My work is very simple, to make people rich. And that's what I love doing, and I'm very excited to be here to pour out myself to the young, so-called young people. I want to believe you must be referring to the 20s, but I believe this conversation is relevant for all age brackets.
Yeah.
But we'll take into consideration the 20-year-olds plus. Yeah.
And I read somewhere that your passion is making people wealthy.
Yes.
I for sure want to be wealthy moving forward.
Yes.
And I think a lot of my friends and people in our bracket we know that it's no longer about being rich. It's about being wealthy.
Yes.
And I'd like to know for you, what's that difference? What line do you cross? So you're no longer rich just chasing money, but you're in the wealthy bracket of things. What do you define that personally?
No, I think to be wealthy is to be happy.
Okay.
And not to be happy with one aspect of your life, but to be happy with all aspects of your life. And maybe because we're talking about people who are in their 20s, I can give a story about myself. When I was in my 20s, I used to follow a gentleman called Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn. Every day, those days we didn't have all these smart gadgets. So every day I would go to the office. He would send an email. I would print the email, and the following day in the morning at 5 a.m. in the morning, I would spend time reading it. And it always used to have a challenge for the day. And I followed Jim Rohn for quite some time. He's now the late Jim Rohn. And he helped me to do something that is very unique. He helped me to define my success. What is success to me? And I defined my success when I was 26 years old. And it took me about 12 months to put it together. I wrote a very comprehensive document, which was really to script my life and to determine what are those things that I would want to achieve, and when I achieve them, then I would consider myself to be successful. And there were about 7 things. And number 1 was I needed to be spiritually healthy. There is, as we were speaking before we began this conversation, there is always something bigger that seems to be putting things in place than ourselves. So I wanted to be spiritually healthy. I wanted to be physically healthy, and therefore that I committed also, to look after myself, go to the gym, do the stuff, not to really to be the pumped up guy, most fittest guy, but just to keep physically fit, to be mentally healthy. So that is a lot of reading, putting. I formed a view that reading books is like eating a balanced diet, and you need to make sure you eat a balanced diet. So I'm one of those guys who read many books at the same time.
Oh, okay.
You get it? Yes. I don't believe in sitting down and reading one book to the very end just to conquer it. Yeah. I believe in reading this book for a couple of minutes every day, another book. So I prefer to read a book on health, a book on investment, a book on. I read the Bible every day from a spiritual. So again, it addresses my 7 pillars. Yeah. So constantly growing. So that challenges me mentally, and that ensures that I remain mentally healthy. Career was another one. I'm not putting them in order. Just mentioning them. Career was important. Family was important. And then I didn't have any family. Now I'm very privileged to have a very wonderful family. I have a wife. She's called Helima Ngoi Muchiri, and I have 3 boys and 1 girl, and 2 adopted daughters. Okay. So I have a big family.
A big family.
I have a big family. That goal continues. And there was a 6th one. I'm trying to remember the 6th one, but the 7th one, I always never forget, is the legacy. I wanted to leave a legacy. So beyond, the 6th one was finances. I need to be successful from a financial point of view. And the 7th one was legacy. Beyond myself, what impact will I leave in this world? So those 7 things have driven me since until today. And I've never stopped. Every day I chip away on each of them. I have to say, not all the time I've done well, but it's a constant challenge for me. And the spiritual one was very interesting. So I asked myself, in one of those sessions I was having, just reflecting, which of these 7 pillars that never changes? And the spiritual one always came out as the one that never really changed. So it came to the center. So through the spiritual lens, you are able to determine the success in all the others. So for me, that's how I define my success. It's not dependent on how much money I have in the bank account. It's dependent on how happy I feel. So I consider myself to be wealthy, even though every other pillar is in progression.
You know, with the pillar conversation, you've already tapped into something in which I feel like myself and a lot of people fall into, which is neglecting the whole human.
Exactly.
And really focusing on, especially when you're starting off, really focus on the financial side of things, and you neglect your mental health, you neglect the family side, the spiritual side falls to the side. Many times people neglect that. And as we come to this, I'd like to hear your story when you were starting out, the young 20-something-year-old. I know about your academic background, but you can just tell us, and just moving forward beyond academic background, what your mentality was, and did you know you wanted to be what you are now, or what was that like?
I think, as I said earlier, and you'll hear me say this quite a number of times, I believe that we do have our own plans, but there's always a bigger plan that is being orchestrated by a more supreme being. And eventually everything starts falling in place, like how you and I have sat here. If you told me 2 weeks ago that I would be sitting talking to Jeremy, I'd have been like, who is Jeremy? But something has orchestrated this, that we are here. So when I look at my life, from the moment I was young, I was raised up in a fairly close-knit family. We are 3 of us, mom and dad. They are both alive. Very thankful to God about that. We had a fairly good life at the beginning, and at some point, I think when I was in upper primary school, my dad lost his job. And when my dad lost his job, we started struggling to put food on the table. We started struggling to pay rent. We started struggling with things that were non-issues before. And now that I was young, but I was very aware of myself, I started asking myself, what really happened? It was a question that was constantly at the back of my mind. And I think that question is what really pushed me to, first of all, go into accounting, because I believed accounting would give me the answer. Then I discovered accounting was so historical. I was tired of, reconciling bins and, being left in the office when everybody else was out there. I said, there must be another answer. And the answer was in investment. So I tried my hand in investment when I got my first opportunity to work for Centum. I took it very quickly, even though I was coming from a multinational, Toyota.
Yes.
I remember my C.E.O. in Toyota called me to his office and said, look here, Pius, we have great plans for you. You're one of the guys who we've identified as the future of the company. Why would you move from a multinational brand to a local brand?
Yeah.
And I said, you know what, I just feel this is the way to go. And I'm very glad I took that step. Centum was not what it is known today. It was a small company, very laid back. And
which year is this?
That was 2004.
2004, okay.
2004.
That's 16.
That's 16 years
ago.
now.
Yeah.
16 years, yeah. So I joined Centum in late 2004, and then 2008, James Moria rejoined us. He was there before I came in, then he left for a short stint, then came back, and then we began what we call the Centum 2.0 strategy, and that strategy was a very ambitious strategy. We were a 6 billion company then. I know it sounds like a lot of money, but in investment world, it was not a lot of money. Yeah. And we looked at the opportunities that were available in the continent, and we said, you know what, we can make this company to be a 30 billion company in 5 years' time. So we embarked on that strategy. You know, of course, with the guidance of our board, which is very nice balance to the very youthful team. You have some gray hairs in the board. You have very youthful team, and by the 5th year, we were shy of that target by only $1 billion. So we were 29 billion. So that's how I began my story in investment, and then in the course of that execution, because we were so successful, we had so many people coming to us and saying, okay, we see you guys, there's something interesting you're doing, you're making money year in, year out. How can we be able to take advantage of your skill set without necessarily having to just buy the Centum share in the stock market? And we scratched our heads and we came up with the idea, why don't we form another company that is licensed by the Capital Markets Authority, that can open doors to receiving other people's money, and we help them to replicate our successes. So that's how Nabo Capital came to be. So 2013, I spinned off from Centum, and with my team, we formed Nabo Capital, 100% owned by Centum. But now we had opened our doors to managing capital for other people. So that's how I ended up doing this for other people, and today we manage over 20 billion shillings on behalf of, actually both local and international investors, both institutions and individuals. So we've been blessed, I have to say that.
A lot of my introduction to this world has been through books. I've been looking up to people like Ray Dalio, there's Bill Ackman, Carl Icahn, and the rest of them of legendary levels, watching the big bets unfold. And how do you personally stay calm, knowing that you're handling, you said 20 billion?
20 billion?
Of external funds that are in your hands with every choice that you're making. How do you maintain that level-headed, that balance, mentally speaking, when you have such an amount?
I think it's a perspective issue. I have a friend of mine who is a doctor, and we occasionally have a drink, and he comes and he tells me, hey, I've just come from the theater, had a big operation, and we're here, we are laughing and having fun. I'm like, you can't be serious. You've just come from slaughtering someone, to use some crazy words. But he tells me, no, you know what, the same way I hear you talking about billions as if it's nothing, it's the same way I feel when I go to the theater and I cut someone, there's blood and all these things, but it's normal for me, it's not normal for you. So for me, I got used to dealing with billions. I'm not super excited because I see billions. There has to be a starting point, and the starting point has to be your aspiration. There is no aspiration called being rich.
Yeah.
If you come to me, tell me, Pius, I want to be rich. I don't know how to make you rich.
Yeah. It's vague. It's a bit
It's
ambiguous,
vague.
yeah.
So, but if we are talking to young people, you've got to think about building your investment portfolio like the way you build a house. You don't build a house from the roof. You build a house from the foundation. All of us, we must have a solid foundation, and we are normally guided by the Maslow's hierarchy. You remember Maslow's hierarchy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hierarchy of needs.
Hierarchy of needs, right?
Yeah.
You have to start from the bottom, going to the top, and we call it investing with purpose. Invest with purpose. Invest with purpose. Before you put any money, in anything, ask yourself, why am I investing? Education for my kids, to build a home, to put food on the table, to pay rent. Why am I investing? We must answer that question. If you don't answer that question, you're investing as a hobby. In fact, you're speculating and you're gambling.
At that point, it's gambling now.
You're just gambling.
It's just gambling.
It's just a game.
Yeah.
And that's why many people invest, but many people don't get that satisfaction. Yeah. So if you were to come to Nabo Capital, we would start with listening, then we diagnose to assess where you are in the Maslow's hierarchy. So the first thing, addressing, let's say, for example, we take someone like you. You say, if would start with what you'd call basic essentials. If your source of income that helps you to put food on the table today, if it was taken out today, would you survive? COVID-19 happened at some point. Many other things happen every day that disrupt our lives.
Yeah.
If those things happen and your business is no longer valid, your job is no longer there, would you still survive? Would you still eat? Would you still have clothing? And would you still have shelter? If you can't answer that question in a strong affirmation of yes, then what you need is a lifestyle portfolio. Every person, whether you're a billionaire or you live in the slum, you must eat, you must clothe, you must have shelter. And that is the foundation. We will need to put together a lifestyle portfolio. And that's what that's what it will help you. Then from there, once you sort that out, we go to the next level of needs, which is around security. What are the big disruptors of life?
May that be health.
Health. You know, when it's been proven that in the US, the #1 cause for family bankruptcies is medical bills. Yeah, even if you have the best insurance cover, yeah, a simple chronic illness will just wipe it away like that. Yeah. 10 million shillings will be blown away at Nairobi Hospital within a month. Yeah. And sooner or later, that guy who never thought can be at the doors of Kenyatta National Hospital, that will be their only source of hope. So we go there, we go to security, and the security portfolio is about ring fencing your lifestyle portfolio. So nothing major will ever happen in your life and you dip into your lifestyle portfolio. So things like medical, education. Majority of the people or parents, they'll tell you that their biggest investment they ever made was education for their children. Yeah. In fact, at the point of retirement, I've had many, parents say, I used to pay school fees. My kids are no longer in school, but I don't see where that money went. Why? Because they spend the most prime of their life when their earning power was highest, paying significant sums in education. Yeah. Then the kids finish school, but they also come off the prime of their life. So that income disappears. So they can't connect, You get? So how do the wealthy people pay for education? They plan for it. Where my kids go to school, we discovered if I have about 8 million shillings portfolio, I can take my kid to school from kindergarten to grade 4 without paying any shilling out of my pocket. And when they finish their education, their grade 12, I still have 7.1 million shillings. That's how the wealthy do it. But how do the rest of us do it? We get our salaries, we get our business income, you remove there, you pay for school fees. So if your income disappears, you can't, even your kids can't enjoy the same kind of education they were getting before. So that's how we come in. Security, portfolio, education, house, building a house. That's another major thing that happens in your life. One of my friends who is also happens to be in the same industry, they did an analysis of the life cycle of a human being. And they said they came up with 19 needs that every human being fulfills during their lifetime. From the time they are born to the last one. And one of the last ones, which is very sad, is actually burying a spouse. You get it? So, yes, we all have different lives, but the milestones are very similar. The milestones are very, 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 very similar. So that's how this security portfolio comes in. How do we sort that one out? Now, once we finish on security portfolio, that is meaning now you have lifestyle and you have security, we can actually declare you to have achieved financial freedom. True financial freedom. I'm sure you've heard those two words.
Yes, it's used around quite a bit.
Very loosely.
Very loosely.
But you ask someone, how do I attain financial freedom? No one can tell you. Today I'm telling you, this is how you achieve financial freedom. Make sure you have security portfolio and a lifestyle portfolio. So from there, now you get to aspirational. Now you're no longer struggling. You have a home, you've sorted out your retirement, you've sorted out most of the basic things. Now you start thinking, it's time to enjoy life. And I keep thinking about this. You've heard this phrase, life begins at 40.
Yes, I've heard.
And I kept asking myself, why did someone come up with such a phrase? And this is my hypothesis. I think the person who came up with that phrase had truly observed life and made this observation that by the time you're 40, you need to have sorted out your lifestyle and your security issues. So between 20 and, now you're speaking about your age bracket, between 20 and 40, you need to sort out your lifestyle and security. Are you together? So when you get to 40 now, you start enjoying life. What happens when you start enjoying life? Two things happen. Number one, you start scaling up, upgrading your life. So if you are living in Eastlands, you move to the affluent leafy suburbs. If you are driving a Toyota, now you can upgrade to a sports Range Rover. But there are a lot of young guys in their 20s who are driving sports Range Rovers. But if you pull that income out, they can't even buy fuel for the sports Range Rover. You get it? So now you can upgrade to a sports Range Rover. You can, have a holiday home. And you hear, His Excellency has a cottage somewhere in Mombasa, and you buy the neighboring cottage, so that when they call for a neighbors association meeting, you are sitting shoulder to shoulder with the president, and that's how deals are done. You get these people are meeting in the same neighborhood. You get so I'm teaching you a few things here. So you now start buying assets also by association, so that you can network more. You want to take your kids to a certain school, because in that school, the deputy president takes his kids to the same school. When you're having a parents-teachers meeting, you know, you're having a nice conversation with the by the way, can I come and see you? So you have networks. You get it? So it's not just about your kid going to school. It's also about who you are networking with. Exactly. And also you're positioning your kids for the future. You know, the kids that President Uhuru Kenyatta went to school with, those guys have better chance of succeeding than you. Why? Because they're in the network. They can take their phone, call the president, and maybe they'll even call him Prezi.
Yeah, it's true.
Or whatever name. And they'll be laughing about it. And you know, that means that person is much more advantaged than you in acquiring business going forward. And as long as they are competitive, I believe so. So that's aspirational on one side. The other side of aspirational is that you quickly realize that you're not immortal. You quickly realize that you cannot drive two cars at the same time. That you cannot live in two houses at the same time. That you cannot, even if you're a multi-billionaire, you still eat that one bowl of cereals in the morning. That nothing much has really changed about you. It's just that you are super wealthy, and you start realizing you need more. You need to impact more people than just your family. And now that takes you to the other side of aspiration. You turn philanthropic. So how do you sustainably support other people or have an impact in the society without eroding your portfolio? So we have some clients who come to us and say, you know what, I'm passionate about young people and supporting them to commercialize their ideas. How can you put together a portfolio, and the return that we generate out of it is what we use, I will be using to support young people. I want to, someone has worked, has gone through difficult times, maybe people supported them throughout their education, and therefore they're very passionate about supporting other people, other disadvantaged children. Say, Pius, can I give you 10 million shillings? And the income that I generate from that every year will be supporting, 5 or 10 children through their education. It's a noble cause. Very noble cause. So
what do you call that portfolio?
It's still aspirational, but the angle of philanthropy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. This has been very insightful.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank you very much for your time.
Welcome.
I'd like to think this is part A. And I'd also like for people who want to know more and more details, kindly go to Nabo Capital. I have a YouTube channel, or you can search Pius Muchiri Mugo. He's excellent at explaining the most complex things and boiling it down to the most fundamental principles. And I have been one of the people who have learnt, and that is why I've looked for Mr. Pius to come here today, and I have learnt even way more in person, and I have enjoyed this conversation as much as I'm sure you have. So for more information, if you have some capital, if you have a need for knowledge, I'll personally be speaking now off camera and be taking some money to Nabo. I am at the summit, not the summit, I'm at the foot of the mountain, and we want to start building those portfolios, building those pillars. So thank you very much for this conversation. It's been very insightful.
Thank you.
And I'd love to have you next time.
Thank you.
Be on your show one of the days.
Thank you. No, we should definitely put that together. Yeah. I think for me, I would want to say to all the young people that being youthful is an opportunity, not a disadvantage. You have a clean white slate, and you have time on your side. And if I would just maybe summarize what we've just said today, number one is if you're looking to do business, don't go looking for capital. Look for customer. If you get the customer, you'll get the capital. Don't put the egg before the chicken. Look for the customer and you'll get the capital. Never chase capital, chase the customer, and the capital will chase you. One very wise man told me, Pius, if you chase the bee, you'll find the honey. So chase the customer will take you to the capital. That's one. Number two is life begins at 40. So between 20 and 40 years, tighten your economic belt. Make all the sacrifices that you need to make. Start with an investment account. Have a goal. By the time you are 40, you should at least be earning 1 million shillings every month from your portfolio, not from your business and not from your employment. At least 1 million. I'm telling you, even if you have zero today and you're in your early 20s, I'm telling you it is so possible and it is so simple. Start with an investment account. Open an investment account with a business like Nabo or any other trustworthy fund manager. Work with experts. Let people like us sit down with you, plot out your next 20 years, plot out your next 16 years, set a goal for you by the time you're 40, and have a very disciplined approach of achieving it. I promise you, by the time you're 40, you will thank me. And you will retire early. And to me, retiring is not to quit job, is not to quit working. Retiring is to start enjoying your life as soon as possible, and you start doing what you enjoy. Okay? You start enjoying what you're doing, or you start enjoying your life as soon as possible by quitting to depend on your salary or business income. So those are my 2 key advices to young people, and feel free to learn a lot more. We have a lot of content on our YouTube channel, Nabo Capital, or you can search Pius Muchiri Mugo, and just commit 15 minutes every day. Watch one video. 15 minutes every day, one video. And I'm telling you, by the end of 1 year, you'll be an expert. You'll be teaching this thing that I'm talking about, and it will benefit you and it will benefit your family. Take this message to all the young people out there. As I said, we only have 200,000 active investment accounts, and that's why we have only 1% of the population is rich and is controlling everything. It's not because that we have been put out of those opportunities, it's just because we do not know. Okay? Start your journey today, and you'll be the next Chris Kirubi, you'll be the next Ali Dangote, you'll be the next Jeff Bezos. Enjoy your life, guys. Enjoy your life. Thank you.